Well, happy Monday, everybody. Steven Sitkowski here. Welcome to this week's edition of my Market Insights. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. Ours was pretty chill. A lot of puppy sitting. Yeah, my little baby is 16 weeks old now. Yeah, 4 months. Doing fantastic. It is August 11th. Quick reminder that everything that we do here is for educational and informational purposes only, not intended as investment advice. So let's see what's going on. Markets opened pretty flat this morning. We have a big week of inflation data. So I think the markets are kind of waiting, seeing what is this data going to look like? How might it influence the Fed? We get our next Fed announcement in September on the 17th. Cannabis stocks jump, like some of them up 20%. Apparently, Trump wants to downgrade where cannabis sits on the drug scale, which I'm not a cannabis user, but candidly, I'm all for that. And I've always seen the hypocrisy in, it's okay to sell whiskey for people to get drunk sitting at home and soak their livers, but, they can't smoke a joint. So again, even though I don't do it, it seems to me there's kind of a lousy argument for the way that that has been scheduled, but I'm not an expert in that field. NVIDIA and AMD, this felt weird to me. They're going to pay 15% of their chip sales to China to the US government. Now, my understanding was the reason that we weren't selling certain chips to China is it represented a security risk and or it would infringe upon our advantage in this area. But I guess it's not a problem if you pay the government. I don't know, is it just me or does that look like a bribe to you? Listen, we're not going to let you. It's like, okay, the speed limit here is 60 miles an hour. If you go over 60, you get a ticket. Unless you give us $100, then you can go 80. And that's kind of what it feels like to me. 10-year Treasury pretty steady at 4.271, really attractive for the equity markets. And oil prices are steady as well in the mid 60s. So market breadth last week, pretty good. One of the things I'm always looking at, number of new highs versus new lows. You want to see more new highs than lows. This is on the New York Stock Exchange. On the NASDAQ, same deal, not as decisive, but more 52-week highs than lows. And then you kind of look at the advancers versus decliners for the week. So, what does all that tell you? Market's pretty bullish, right? It's not subjective, it is quantitative. We're in a bullish market. Markets posted some solid numbers. Now, this is interesting to me. I don't get so much caught up in the weekly as I do the year to date. So the Dow is up 3.8%. So what that tells me, it's underperformed. Those are the blue chippers. So people were more interested in a higher level of risk. So the S&P 500, 8.6. But look at the NASDAQ, tech heavy, up 11.1% year to date. So overall, everything is kind of moving along about the way it should. There were some bumps in the road, around April. We had Liberation Day, kind of cratered things, but it was only temporary. What to watch this week? Like I said, we got a lot of inflation data that's going to be delivered to us. So today they got nothing. Tuesday, we get the small business optimism index. We'll see how small business owners are faring. And then here we go. Consumer Price Index, CPI number coming out. The year over year number looks like it's expected to tick up 0.1%. Then the core CPI month over month also expected to tick up 0.1%. Year over year, 0.2%. Maybe some of that is tariffs. Wednesday, Fed speak. Thursday, initial jobless claims. That's every Thursday. And then we get inflation at the wholesale level, the producer price index, which again are both higher, at least anticipated, than last month. Last month was flat. They're expecting higher. So, the way the market's going to react will be based on the expectation, not last month's number. And then a pretty important number coming out, retail sales. So, are we moving the economy forward? We're expecting sales to go up month over month, 0.5%. So annualized, that would be 6% for the year. Retail sales minus autos, 0.3%. Empire State Manufacturing Survey, I don't think that's going to move the needle at all. And then consumer sentiment, how are people feeling? And they're supposed to be feeling better this month than last month. So we'll be watching that carefully. Those things are potential market movers. So clearly you want to keep an eye on what's happening there. This is last week's heat map. So, in bright green, you've got Apple. They had a little meeting with the president. All roads these days lead through Washington, D.C., apparently. Palantir up 21%, Apple 13%, Tesla. Good week, up 9%. Broadcom 5.5%, Alphabet over 6%, Nvidia 5%. Lilly got crushed, down 18%. Economic forecast. Boy, this is pretty damn cheery. So up here, you've got your key, right? No landing, that's down the green. Soft landing, the blue. And hard landing for the next 12 months. Hard landing, only 9%. Down from last month, where they're at 13%. So 86% are saying we're either going to have a soft landing or no landing at all. In other words, economy is in pretty good shape. There's some weakening. There's no doubt about that. I'm seeing some weakening in the jobs market, especially. But again, part of that's going to be the impact of tariffs. Another part, nobody's talking about it, I don't know why, is the impact of artificial intelligence. I mean, that was a whole idea behind AI. Computers can think better than people and will ultimately replace people in many areas. Following the money. So where are the big returns? Well, you see them right up here. AI exposed stocks, year to date, up 26%. Followed by utilities. You know why utilities is doing so well? That includes nuclear. And they're going to use those nuclear reactors to fuel the data centers. NASDAQ up 11%, and then everything else trails off. So it's all about AI. And this is what's fascinating to me. When they do these surveys, which they do every week, and ask a group of independent investors, do you think the market's going up, down, or sideways? Last survey, about 35% said higher for the next 6 months. 43% said lower. What are these people looking at? Clearly, those are guesses based on feelings, not analysis based on data. This week's earnings, we really are winding down. Oklo, that'll be interesting. That's in the nuclear space. Rigetti, that's quantum computing. That could be a little interesting. Cisco on Wednesday, John Deere on Thursday, not much on Friday. All right, let's take a look at the charts. See what's going on. Let's find SPX right at the top of the list. Chart looks like it's in really good shape. That yellow line, S&P 500, sloping up, well above it. You see we had a little downdraft, and then it's steadily moved higher, approaching its all-time highs. So everything about that looks great. All right. So we will continue, fight the good fight, keep looking for opportunity. Other than that, I hope you have a splendid week, and I'll be with you next week. Until then, be safe, be blessed. Bye for now.